Hi, Dr. Yum Project fans. This is a super special Facebook Live that we are doing today. First of all, I am Dr. Nimali Fernando, also known as Dr. Yum, and I'm one of the founders of the Dr. Yum Project. And this is our Thursday Facebook Live series. And I'm so excited to welcome two of my favorite Fredericksburg ladies, Chef Joy Crump and Beth Black, who are the owners of FOODE and Mercantile, which are two incredible Fredericksburg establishments that are woven into the fabric of Fredericksburg. They are some of our favorites. If you are visiting Fredericksburg and you talk to any local, they'll tell you you've got to eat at FOODE. And so I'm really happy to have them here today to talk about a really important topic. I have to say that our team has been looking for guests to share their insight on the real issues that are coming forth in this global pandemic. And recently we saw this beautiful manifesto, I call it, that they put forth on their website and on their social media about their restaurant reopening plan. And it was so compelling and it was so well thought out and so beautiful that our team instantly decided that we had to ask them if they would come on and talk to us about their journey and about their restaurant reopening. And so thank you guys both for being here to talk about this really important topic.
Oh, it's an honor. Thank you very much.
So I know we want to talk about the restaurant reopening. We want to give our listeners a chance to talk with you or ask questions and maybe share their concerns with you. But first of all, I just want to ask you, how have you guys been doing? I know it's been such a harrowing time for a lot of folks with this pandemic and all the changes. How are you guys personally doing? How is your business doing? How's your staff doing? Tell us about that.
I think that we're all in this weird little surreal kind of nightmare, and the positive is that we're all in it, and sort of days are just kind of whizzing by and going slowly at the same time. But thank you for asking. Our staff is here, and we're building it back person by person, one by one, as we're able to, and as the need arises. And I don't know, we just sort of check in with each other every day and look at each other from 6 feet apart and make sure that we're all good and hanging in there. And the challenges continue to come, but if we look down the street, there's somebody else who's got it just as bad or is dealing with conflicts that are just as difficult as ours. So it's kind of, I don't know, there's a sense of community that's really going on right now. That's definitely the silver lining.
You've been able to keep up some of your service. Tell us about that and how that's kind of helped you, or how you've had to change in order to keep up that service of curbside pickup. I've enjoyed that personally. I've gotten to continue to have your delicious bean burger but at my house.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. So at first it was out of necessity. Well, it is. Everything is out of necessity. But really, we had all of this beautiful product in-house, and we still are very proud of our connection with the purveyors and the farmers. And even though we get our goods from a vendor like US Foods, we understand the sacrifice that the people picking the vegetables or plucking the fruit or processing the meat, we're really cognizant of that. So we didn't want that to go to waste.
Sure.
So our first thing was protect the food and get it out. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to see when we're going to see customers again. So we pivoted immediately to groceries. We knew that people were struggling to get some things. We've had access to foods, to cleaning supplies, to toilet paper. So the dining room became a grocery store. Checked in with the city. Yeah, we went through new permitting. We changed our business license real fast.
I was so excited to see that when I was looking at your menu to put together an order for my family one night, that you can get groceries from FOODE and get them curbside. And that's such a brilliant idea. How did you think of that? And are people really taking advantage of that? I would think for downtown folks, it would be such a wonderful service.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about downtown. It's like so often if they have the option of supporting something that's sort of national versus supporting something that's Fredericksburg based, they'll pick the latter. They'll pick the one that's Fredericksburg based. And so Beth and I went to the grocery store and we saw that there were things that were missing. And then we were talking to the community and talking to our staff, and they're like, "Yeah, we couldn't find meat, we couldn't find chicken," and meanwhile, we still had access just because restaurants and the distribution is ranked at a certain level, and so we were still able to get things that people couldn't get at the grocery store. It was really quickly that we pivoted, and I think that's one of those little things where it's like, oh, that's a need that we didn't really realize was there before now that we are exploring as these months kind of go on, which is how can we make it more convenient for people when they're going to eat out in any form to get the things they need. And then also, how can we stay connected to the community and give them products, whether they want us to cook it for them or not? You know, if they want to buy the pound raw, we still get amazing chicken. It's all natural, it's local, it's fresh. Let's give them chicken by the pound raw. And so it's just a conversation that's very informative right now, and we're lucky to have the opportunity to have that conversation.
It's so brilliant. I think, you know, this pandemic has forced us to think outside of the box, and it's such a beautiful way to share the access that you have to food and other goods with our community. So thank you for offering that service. So I want to talk a little bit about your reopening. I mentioned that we saw the document that you put out on social media. I actually have bits of that I can show some of our listeners today, but it is so well thought out. And so I just wanted to ask you, how do you start thinking about this process in this completely new backdrop with a completely new set of concerns? Where do you start? Because it feels like you guys have thought of just about everything, and I would think that just the whole process would be daunting. So where do you start?
With honesty and transparency. And the good news about the favorite restaurants of your viewers is that we've always been under the guidelines of VDH, which are very strict. We've always checked our temperatures, heavily sanitized. We understand when it's too much sanitation, sanity not enough. And we just wanted to have a conversation with the guests. And that's how that document was born. We just wanted to tell people that we understand their concerns. We are there with them. Our goal is to make them feel safe, and as equally important, our staff feel safe, because many of them are still terrified. They are not ready to get back to work. And so we wanted to tell everyone, look at what we're doing to help you, look at what we're doing to help the staff. Maybe everyone will be comfortable, and if you're not comfortable, let's keep talking so we can figure out a way that we can hopefully still serve you during a pandemic.
So we were talking a little bit yesterday about how during this time you felt a little bit disconnected from your customers and your community. And so we wanted to give listeners today a chance to ask questions. What are your concerns? Obviously, everybody has spent the past 2.5 months hunkered down. And so to get back out can feel a little bit daunting. And so we'd love to hear about what our listeners' concerns are as they're deciding when and how to go back and how to eat out at establishments and how to reacclimate. What are some of the concerns? Beth and Joy shared with me that they'd love to hear what people are thinking about. And I think that's really wonderful that you're listening to your customers and reacting to their concerns. So if you have any questions that you want to put out there for Beth and Joy, they would be happy. One of our viewers actually has already asked us here. So too much sanitizing around food is one of my major concerns about guidance that's going out. So what do you say about that?
Okay, too much sanitizing. I'm not. I'll just answer it sort of literally, and then if if that person wants us to dive deeper or clarify, I can. But she or he is correct in that sanitized solution only works if it's used in the right ratio, right? So it's only safe if you know exactly how much to use with water, what temperature the water should be, how often to use it, how long it's going to kill a germ, or sanitize the surface afterwards. Those are elements that we have to be aware of. And as Beth said, we all go through training and we are all familiar with Virginia and the guidelines that are laid out. And so we don't sanitize too much and we don't sanitize too little. We do it exactly the right amount with exactly the right ratio. And when something disturbs that sanitation, like somebody sitting down and eating, or like somebody coming along and preparing food, when something disturbs that, then we refresh the sanitation. And so I don't know if that addresses exactly what they were concerned about, but that's our general protocol.
I put up for the listeners today sort of the cover of your several page plan for your customers. And the second page, I think it's the second page, you have a list of commitments, things that you set forth in doing and considering as you reopen. What were some of the big things that were on your mind as you were putting together this plan? Maybe things that we didn't think about even as customers coming to an eating establishment.
That's a great question. The thing about coronavirus, or I suspect something like the coronavirus, is that we are far from experts at it now. So the only thing I can do is adapt to how the virus changes. So my main concern is making sure that our education continues every single day, that we're on top of it, so
right.
we understand how to best battle something that's invisible.
Right.
We still believe in social distancing. We've always believed in our routine when it comes to cleaning. We are very, very strict with cleaning. I imagine the places where people love to go, the reason why people love to go there is because they're safe.
Sure.
And so those places are probably very clean and are practicing really great strict guidelines. That won't change for us. What's different and what is scary is that we don't quite understand this virus yet. And so we have to keep adapting to how we're going to combat it. And when you allow in guests, I can't take their temperature, but I am now required to ask them or to show them that if you have shown symptoms, if you have a fever, you're not allowed to enter our establishment. And the guest has to trust me enough and trust our processes enough, and me being the entire staff, to know, like, we got your back. We're going to take care of you. We promise. The last thing we want is for anyone to not be satisfied within our walls. And that satisfaction goes beyond the plate of food.
It's, I can relate in some ways with what you're saying in terms of, that continuing education is so important, because this is a novel virus. And our staff, as well here at our pediatrics practice, we are learning all the time. I feel like the data is coming at us at such a rapid rate, and you simply can't take your finger off the pulse. You're just having to learn and adapt all the time. And I imagine you feel that the same way too, that it's just so critical to stay on top of the newest and latest data so that you can make informed decisions about your business and keeping your clients and my patients, in my case, safe. But it's a barrage. I follow a gal that is an infectious disease specialist, and she siphons through about 4,000 studies a week and gives us like the pearls of those studies. And I don't know how she does it. It's such a barrage of information, but it's so important for us to stay on top of it. I wanted to share this beautiful plan that you have for your space. Those of you who have not been to FOODE, it is a gorgeous space, and one that many of us in Fredericksburg enjoy. And I know that you've put a lot of thought into this space, and then you've had to put a lot of thought into reinventing this space with all of these new guidelines. So tell us about how you came up with this new plan for seating and working around social distancing guidelines.
It started with that continuing education that we were just talking about. Joy and I have sat in a countless number of webinars and Zoom meetings and conferences about how to adapt our business, how to make customers safe, particularly with restaurants. And one of the ones we sat through was with people we had met through the James Beard Foundation. And they talked about what restaurants may look like in the future. And they put up a very similar graphic, and Joy and I looked at each other immediately during the webinar, and we said, we have to hire them. We have got to hire them to do this. I'll be totally honest, we knew no one else was going to do it. Like we wanted to be so forward thinking, and we wanted people to know, like, look, we got you. We're taking your safety critically important. And so that was a no-brainer. The architects core out of DC, they were excited to work with us.
Yeah, I think there's everybody has the same guidelines and access to the same information, and we've all got the checklists and we know what to do. And I think the downtown restaurant community has been like baller, just amazing in sort of just tackling this thing head on and saying, how can we make this work so that we can survive this pandemic together as a community. Everybody's done that, so we're not unique there. But I think one of the main threads that connects us with the community is our staff. And when that staff was taken away, it became that much more like important, and we became more desperate to understand what the people needed because we were separate from that, suddenly. And so I think one of the key goals of that document was to, again, communicate with our guests in the ways that we haven't been able to in the last several weeks, and show them that what we believe they care about, we're addressing. And so we're trying to also really talk about the emotional part of going out to eat or gathering together or entertaining yourself with friends among food. That part. And so we want you to know that everybody's checking off the list and doing what they need to do to make their place safe for you. That's a no-brainer, and we're all going to do that. What we want to do is we also want to make you feel like you can exhale when you're in here and just know subliminally and in practice by the lists and the boxes and the masks and the gloves that we are taking care of you, the things that you can see and the things that you can't. We just want to make sure that you know that it is still the same foodie, even though it feels different, it's laid out different, different packaging, different menus, it's still the same us, and we're still here to take care of them.
And one final point to that is this was our communication also with our staff members that I said to you earlier are still very scared, and we wanted to show them, like, guys, we got you. Like, it's not just about piling people back in here and trying to make up for 8 weeks of no revenue.
Right.
When the staff is comfortable, when the staff can breathe, then they're going to make the guests feel better. And I think an important part of that guide that you're showing is that we didn't just talk to the guests, and we also talked to the staff there because we wanted the staff to know that that we want to protect them.
Absolutely. They're part of your flock, right? And you want them to feel safe, and they're going to put their best foot forward and make your guests feel safe as well if they're feeling that way. I put up here for everybody to see some of the resources that you went to, and you mentioned the James Beard Foundation, some of the other resources. If not everyone's going to feel comfortable going back out into the world in a different way and on a different time frame, but at some point we're all going to be going back out, and we're going to be eating at eating establishments and going to the grocery store more often. As people go out to eating establishments in particular, what are some of the questions that they should be asking when they're going to their favorite local restaurants, or what are some of the things they might be looking for in these early days? Can you give listeners some tips maybe that they can be thinking about?
Yeah, I think again, I think the staff and how comfortable they are, what they do when they know that people are watching, and more importantly, what they're doing when they don't realize that someone's watching them. Those are the telltales that tell you how much they understand the importance of cleaning, how used they are, how used to the new training and the new way of life that they are, having to retrain. Like those little things that are like little subtleties, I think are what people can trust as evidence of what's going on in the bigger part of the establishment that they can't see. So I would say talk to the staff. I think the staff knows what's up.
I think that's exactly right. I think, and I'm sure they're like, hey, you two are touching your mouth the whole time. I am so sorry. I cannot get this thing to like not droop.
I'm talking a lot. It's falling down. I'll throw it away after.
Yes, I know. And I'll wash my hands.
I'm guilty too. Believe me.
Yeah, I think Joy is exactly right. It's not always what they're telling you. It's what they're showing you when they don't know that you're watching. And yeah, and so my team, which I love, we had one woman who just recently came back to us, and she is our senior manager. She just recently joined us again. We were serving outside, and she came in and she just screamed, "Everyone stop, let's wipe." And it was like, it jarred me, and I loved it. I loved it. It was new. It was different. It just goes to show, like, it's no one outside could see her doing that. She did it because it was the thing to do at the right time to do, and we all jumped into action. So see what people are doing when they don't think you're looking.
That's a great piece of advice. I have one comment from Jennifer Gray. She said, sort of a question too. I'd love to see more outside seating. Is the city and your neighborhood businesses supportive in expanding the areas of tables outside?
I'd love to see outside seating more too. It's been cold and rainy.
Yeah.
And so we're freaking ready. I mean, we're so ready. We've got our potted flowers, and we've got our marks on the sidewalk that are 6 feet apart, and we've got our tables, and the staff knows like a conveyor belt how to get everything out and get it set up quickly. It's just been very yucky out there, and so we're fingers crossed. We're waiting. We're all where's the thing? There it is. Fingers crossed. We're waiting. We're all anxious to get people outside to experience the food, like without having to unwrap a bag and open up a box and then reach inside. And we want it to be more immediate and special.
Yeah, and part of phase 1 through the governor is that you can have outdoor dining, but the city requirements, at least where we are, is that you have 6 feet from your tables to the end of the sidewalk. So many of these smaller sidewalk areas with restaurants where you find normal sidewalk cafes where it used to be okay for just like one line to kind of snake past the sidewalk tables, that's not allowed right now.
Plus, we all want to leave room for curbside pickup, and so it's just more space is required for us to be compliant. And so we're going to err on the side of, all right, we could fit 6 tables out there with the 6-foot egress, but we're going to keep it to 4 so that we know that even the people who are pulling up and who aren't comfortable eating outside yet, not even that they can pull up and get their food to go and not feel like, oh my God, somebody's going to come too close. Like, we just don't. So we're going to go err on the side of a little bit more room, and it looks sparse right now, but it's intentional.
It's really helpful to know that. Thank you for sharing that with us. I know that it's got to be tricky now, kind of having to comply with all these different guidelines and still keep everybody happy, your clients, and happy, and be able to accommodate people. I can't imagine the challenges that you're facing and all the considerations behind the scenes as well. I wanted to ask you kind of last question. This pandemic has been undoubtedly very difficult for so many people, particularly folks who have lost family members, who have lost jobs. It's just an unprecedented time. But I'm noticing that there are some silver linings that are peeking out here and there. And people are finding out that maybe this new way of living, there are some lessons, some things that will take to the time after the pandemic, ways that we may choose to live or choose to work. So I'm wondering if you guys personally have experienced that, some things that you might kind of keep around after the pandemic, either personally or professionally, that you've kind of been surprised at.
The one thing that Joy and I have not had the opportunity to do is relax. So because we've been so focused on saving our business and bringing back our employees, we have not had a day. So I couldn't tell you that I've sat down and breathed and been like, oh, I'm going to start yoga. I really look forward to the day where I can have a moment and find those things. But right now, it's about saving the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, from a business perspective, all these things that we had to pivot to are potential new lines of new ways to reach our target customers, right? So delivery is something that we danced around for a long time, but you kind of get stuck in the logistics of it until it's the only way that you're going to be able to get revenue. And so then you figure it out, I went to the doctor's yesterday and it was like literally the most streamlined, fast, amazing experience that I've had, because they employed all these things where it's like, okay, you're going into that room, you're not leaving, you're going to get up, and I was like, oh, they need to keep this after COVID, because the doctor's office in 9 minutes. Like, it was amazing, Yeah, there are these things that we're stumbling upon where we're like, oh, cool, we didn't know that people would want that from us. We didn't know people would actually want our raw eggs. We just figured we'd have to make them into an omelet to get them to them.
Yeah.
And so I'll package them up in a carton and give it to you. 12 eggs are 12 eggs. And so I think there are definitely, like you said, those little silver linings peeking out where we can reach our guests in ways that we had not imagined before or hadn't had the time or necessity to try, and now open to all of those.
I agree. I'm living that doctor office change right now. And you guys saw me in scrubs yesterday. I think I'm keeping the scrubs, to be honest. It's very easy. And the glasses and, all these things, hair tied back. It's just easy. And it makes sense, even before coronavirus, there's so many infectious diseases that we deal with. And it's made us think about being more careful. I do have one more question. Do you guys have time for one last question? This is a really interesting one that came through, and I think important enough that I would love to spend a minute on it. You guys have time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Kristen Arani asked, how do you manage your anxiety when customers are not compliant with the guidelines?
Oh, they got to go. Really? There's no anxiety behind it. It's just like before COVID. You've got to be lovely to be here. I mean, you've got to be lovely to our staff. You have to be lovely to each other. You can't be yucky in any way, or you got to get going. This is our house, so I have no problem asking somebody politely to get going.
That's true. We've always been the enforcers, So it's true. That's exact right. That she said it perfectly. You've always had to be kind and follow the rules and respect, the other people in the house. And so that's not an issue for us.
I love that. I feel the same way. I'm very protective of my tribe. And when you come to the office, you play by our rules, and we respect. It's a mutual respect that we have to have for each other.
Right. And if you don't want to dine with me, it makes me sad, but obviously I respect your decision. Right. But I'm not going to allow any of the other guests to be uncomfortable.
One of the viewers said that the grocery service has been amazing. You have the only yeast around.
Yeah.
Oh. I know. We figured. We were like, okay.
Another one's like, oh my gosh, we can't get toilet paper. I'm like, there's plenty of toilet paper. What's happening? Yeah.
Now the secret's out, so you might regret. Everyone might be coming for your yeast and toilet paper after today.
You got it.
Well, you guys have been amazing. There's so much love coming through. I hope you'll look at the feed later. Laura Visioni, one of our team members, says, our family admires your decisions and creative efforts to stay in this business. We have loved family meals and would be really excited to see it becoming a lasting thing. But whatever you do, we'll be there and we'll do your best to be as lovely as you. So,
Yeah.
And then one of our other board members, Shanti, said that she loved your beef ribs. She had them on Sunday.
Nice.
So.
And on Pressuring Joy, I want us to like make a deeper effort to hit the vegans out there. So look for that too.
It's coming.
We love that. We have a few plant-based folks in my family, including Zoom, so we would definitely enjoy that. And then my carnivore always enjoys having a great burger from you. So
I'll tell you one thing that we haven't told the public yet. Something exciting.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Oh yeah. So it's funny. We did Memorial Day, like a Memorial Day and and graduation menu online for the weekend. And one of the things on there is Boston baked beans. And the reason why that came to be is because we just hired a wonderful chef who also happens to be just a dear, dear friend of ours. I was on Top Chef with her in Boston. Her name is Stacy Cogswell. And this time was the perfect time for her to transition from there to here. She did quarantine herself, just so you know, coming from Massachusetts, but she's now out and she's in the kitchen here at FOODE and helping us create a wonderful menu when we finally open up wide for everyone. And we'll have more seafood and more wonderful, like, New England favorites to mix with our Southern menu. I can't wait. She's literally one of the finest chefs I've ever worked with. So.
She authored a beautiful cookbook called the New England Cookbook. It was a smashing hit. I can't believe she joined our team. We're super excited, and I think she will help us change the game when we are able to reopen. But you know, there's always opportunity, right?
Yeah.
You always have to find the silver lining.
I love it. I love the North-South fusion too. This is so excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations. That sounds amazing. And I just can't thank you enough for being such leaders in our community and for spending the time and giving people a little bit of an insight as to what a really thoughtful restaurant reopening looks like and giving people a lot to think about. So you guys are the best. You've been involved with the Dr. Young Project for so long, and we thank you for everything that you do. And
your brand is synonymous with excellence and health, and those are two things that we strive for too. So it's always, always a pleasure to pair up with you anytime, anywhere, in any way.
Well, thank you. We love you, and we are rooting for you as you forge forward with your reopening, and best of luck to you, and thanks for spending the time.
Thank you so much.
See you on the other side. Bye.
All right, see you on the other side. Thanks, everybody, and please tune in to our next Facebook Live series next week. Make sure to check out all of our new YouTube videos. We've been working hard to share lots of tips and tricks on how you can continue to cook at home. And thanks for all of the support and love that you've been giving us. And make sure to check out our Zoom cooking series too. We've been having a lot of fun with that. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.